Hi everybody, it's Kenzy Knoxx and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be painting this lovely vineyard painting, a step-by-step acrylic painting tutorial. So I hope you can sit back, relax, and let's start painting. So to begin off with, we're going to add a few colors to our palette, including titanium white, ultramarine blue, light permanent blue, fluorescent yellow, lemon yellow, cadmium orange, sap green, and violet. So add those to your palette and then we'll start painting. Grab your size 14 flat brush, get that wet, tap off the drips, and then take some permanent light blue. I'm going to actually spritz off our canvas before we start, like letting our paint glide a little bit easier. So put that light permanent blue on the top of your canvas and start carrying it down. Then pick up some white or titanium white, and then pick up some more titanium white, and just keep applying it to your canvas, going further down the canvas. So our sky will be dark to light. Once you've reached around this point of our canvas, we're going to go ahead and rinse off our brush and then pick up our ultramarine blue and create our land line or our horizon line right there. And then we're going to start creating these diagonal lines that will be the base of our vineyard. So this will be the underpainting. And once you've reached around the bottom of the canvas creating these slanted lines, we're going to start creating gaps in them. So we'll leave some white spaces between each of the lines that we create. So continue across your canvas creating diagonal lines. At this point, we're going to start creating diagonal lines going the opposite way. And continue those across your canvas until you're done. And once you've created a larger gap, they should be getting smaller in size. So now at this point, we're getting very small and narrow lines again, just like we did in the beginning. And since these are the underpainting of our painting, you don't have to make them perfect, but you can go over them if you feel like you need to fill them in a little bit better. This will create a nice, deep, rich color that we need when we apply the paint on top of it. Okay, so add some light blue violet to your palette and we're going to start painting in the mountains in the background. So these mountains are strategically placed so that the sun will go right through them in a specific point. So make sure that your first two mountains kind of line up with the mountains that I've created, and then from there you can create them however you'd like. They can be tall, small, narrow, wide, they can be whatever shape you wish. But just fill those in with that light blue violet. While painting the mountains, you can bring that light blue violet all the way down to the ultramarine if you'd like. You can do that in the beginning or wait till the end. I decided to wait to the end because I wasn't sure if I was going to bring it all the way down or not, but then I decided just to bring it all the way down. So once you've painted this section in as well as possible, you can go ahead and rinse off your brush and get ready for the next step. So go ahead and rinse out your brush, and now we're going to mix in some sap green with some violet, and this is going to create a deep green color that we need for our vineyard field. So once you mix some of that on your palette, we're going to start creating some grass lines where the grass will be. So in between each of the vertical lines, create a narrow little green line that will be our grass lines. And make sure they're narrow at the top and get wider at the bottom as they come closer to us to create some sort of perspective. We're going to carry these green lines all the way across our field, covering in all the little white areas that we didn't paint previously, and then going back over the blue areas on the right side of the canvas as well. After I created one coat of paint for the green and violet color, I decided to go over it again, each of the sections, just to give it some more color and make it richer in shade. Once you're done with that, rinse off your brush and grab some white on your paintbrush, and we're now going to create the sun right here. So right in between the two mountains that I said that we strategically placed, we're just going to create the sun right there. And then we're going to take our size 14 flat brush, and we're going to take that white and create the highlights of the mountain or the snow areas of the mountain. And you can do this by using your paintbrush like a palette knife. You can use a palette knife if you feel comfortable with that, but I'm using mixed media paper today, so palette knife on top of this is not very easy. So create your highlighted areas, and then we'll continue on to create our shadow areas next. Once you're satisfied with the highlights that you've created, we're going to go ahead and dip into some brilliant purple, add that to our paintbrush, and we're going to create the shadowed areas. Keep in mind, this doesn't need to be perfect. Mountains are kind of difficult to do. I'm still working on my technique. So I've gone ahead and added some green, lime green, light green, light olive green, brilliant yellow green, light sap green, light green permanent, phthalo green, blue permanent, and light magenta, as well as luminous rose to my palette. And taking my size 4 filbert brush, when you get that wet, tap off the drips. We're going to take some magenta, and we're going to start creating a line down the right side of this little blue line right here that we created. And this is going to be a highlighted area of the pink flowers or the pink grapes or the purpley grapes, but create these lines going down the right side of the lines of the right side of the canvas. And don't go all the way down the lines, because the sun, the way it's shining, isn't going to reach the entire way down the canvas. So they're going to get diagonal. The farther into the center they go, the longer the line will be, if that makes sense, which I hope it does. Grabbing some white with a hair of yellow. Mix that up on your palette to get a nice light yellow. Go around the sun. Rinse off your brush. Grab some white. Put a hair of orange. And take that orange. Go right up over that yellow. Off your brush. Got that yellow and white. Back up. Rinse off your brush, grab some white. How about that orange? Just paint that sky white. Rinse off your brush. So next, grab some white and some light sap green to create this light green shade. And we're going to create some distant foliage in the background in front of the mountains, but behind the vineyard. So just create some blobs here and there and some evergreen-like shapes as well. So just mix up the tree sizes. You can make these taller if you wish. You can make them shorter if you wish. You can make them any size you want. Just keep in mind that the perspective of the painting. You don't want it to be too confusing when you look at it. So if the trees were as high as the mountains, it might look a little funny. If they're shorter than where they are now, that might look a little funny as well. So try to make it just line up properly. Adding a little bit of orange to that light green shade that we made, I'm just going to mix up the foliage color a little bit more and make it a little bit more olivey in shade. So you can add this to some of your trees. You don't have to add them to all of it, but just to some of them. Once you're happy with the sizes of your trees and the shapes of them, go ahead and rinse off your brush and pick up some light magenta and go back to highlighting the rows of the flowers or the grapevines or whatever you wish your little vineyard to look like. Taking a size 8 flat brush, I'm going to tap into my phthalo green and start tapping in the green foliage of the vineyard, little pathways or our grass pathways. Remember that the farther away they are, the less detail you'll see, so you can just paint these in with a flat line, but that you want the foliage closest to us to be visible with texture or to look like grass. If you're more comfortable using a fan brush, go ahead and do so, but the smaller parts at the top are very difficult to paint with a fan brush, so you can tap those in with a larger flat brush if you so desire. You could even use a rake brush for this process as well. Continue this process all the way across our canvas, all the way over to the right side. Remember that once we get farther over to the right, there won't be as much detail needed and you can just create a stroke of paint. You don't need to tap in all the texture. Once you're done tapping in your grass or drawing in your grass, add some olive green to your palette, and we're also going to create some textures in the trees to create some olive green trees. Not all of them will be olive green, just some of them. More like the bush-like trees. The evergreen trees will paint in a different shade of green. Once you're done creating all the bushes with the olive green, we're going to rinse that brush off, put that aside, grab a small bilbert brush, and tap into our light sap green or sap green and just start creating some evergreen trees. Just tap those in, make sure they're smaller at the top than they are at the base. And once you're satisfied with tapping in those evergreens, rinse off your brush, put that aside, and grab a size 2 flat brush and mix in some sap green with some violet to create a deeper shade green. And we're just going to go over some other trees right now. We're just going to draw in some lines. They can be crooked, they could be straight, they can be slanted, they can be any way that you want them to be. The more various and crooked and weird looking they are, the better it'll come out. The more realistic it'll look. And once you're done with that, you can rinse off that brush and put that aside. And next we're going to grab our larger filbert brush, and I believe it's size 8 or 10. That should be fine. And we're going to go ahead and mix up some phthalo blue and some white on our palette and start creating some highlights to the blue lines that we created for our grapes or our flowers, whatever you want it to be. When going over the magenta areas, stay to the left of the magenta lines because those flowers will look different than the blue line flowers. Technically, we're creating the shadow areas right now. Continue over with the blue little taps with your filbert brush until you've reached the far right end of the paper, or canvas, I'm sorry. Taking a slightly lighter shade of blue, add a little white to that shade, and go back over some of the areas. And then taking some magenta, just quickly swipe down on the right side of those lines. And then over the back, we're just going to swoop over some magenta light and then brush it out or soften it out. Taking some primary blue, we're now going to add some primary blue to the blue shaded areas of the canvas. Just add a little bit something else to the floral areas. Once you've gone over all the little lines, or the blue lines of the canvas, we're going to now add some foliage using a scruffy brush. This is just a short, stiff bristled brush that creates like a scruffy look. You can also use a stippling brush if you don't have this. You can use any sort of brush that just creates, like even a fan brush would work. But we're going to take some grass green and start adding in this lighter green shade to our canvas, just in the grassy areas. This is a medium shade green. This isn't technically our highlight just yet, but it's adding a little something to the shaded areas. So add this to each and every line that is green, and then we'll move on to the next step. Once you're done with that, go ahead and grab some phthalo blue and add some white to it to get this shade right here. We're going to make this a little bit lighter. This is going to be the highlight to our floral areas. So go ahead and add this just to each of the blue lines that we've created, or the blue sections. And you can create these sporadically, as these will be the highlighted little floral areas. And this can go over the little magenta line that we created on some of the blue areas. Rinse off your brush and then grab some luminous rose and add some white to that to get this bright pink color. And we're going to add this to the magenta areas that we created. Next, grab some brilliant purple with some white. And we're going to add that into the pink areas as well. Next, take some violet and mix that with white to create this lighter purple shade, although it's deeper in color, and add this to the left side of the floral regions. Remember, the farther back the detail, or the farther back in the painting, the less detail the painting will have, so you can just create lines at the very far ends of the painting and the very far back too. But for the rest of it, you really do want to tap in this foliage. Once we're done with that, clean off your brush, put it aside, and grab your scruffy brush again and tap into some sap green, and we're going to add this to the center of our green sections. Again, adding more texture and more color to these areas. Next, we're going to take a little bit of water with our violet and just shade in the left sides of our floral areas. So go down, just draw a line down, paint a straight line down the left side of the floral bloom areas, or the grapevines, or whatever you're trying to create. In order to cast a little shadow on the grass areas, I'm also going to take this watered down purple and just go over the grass on the right side quickly. This will give the painting more depth and more 3D appearance. Next, taking that phthalo blue and white color, we're going to go back over some of the floral areas and tap in some more highlights, making sure we stay to the right side of the darkened areas we just created. Next, taking that violet and white shade, we're just going to go over the floral areas again, adding some more highlights and more flower blooms or grapes. And once you're done with that, rinse off your brush, and then we're going to pick up some light magenta, and we're going to add that to the blue or purple regions of our flower bushes or our grapevines. Next, we're going to add some luminous rose to our palette and pick up some of that luminous rose and add that down to the bushes too. Next, we're going to add some brilliant purple to those floral bushes. And remember to tap these in, just gently tapping them. This will add lots of texture and different floral blooms in all sorts of areas. Next, using this small filbert brush, I believe it's a size 4, we're going to go on in and tap in some brilliant purple. Then rinse off your brush and grab some luminous rose, and we're going to tap that in as well with the smaller brush. Oh, add some white to your luminous rose, I'm sorry, and then tap that into the floral bushes. Just keep tapping in these highlights until you're happy with the flowers or the grapevines that you've created, and then clean that brush off, grab your scruffy brush, and we're going to tap into some lighter green, lighter grass green or lime green. I'm going to add that to the left side of the grassy areas. This is going to add a nice little highlight to the grass regions. And once you're done with that, rinse off your brush and grab a filbert brush, and we're going to tap into our phthalo blue. So load up your brush with some phthalo blue and tap over the left regions of the floral areas again. Once you're done with that, rinse off your brush and grab some violet, and we're going to add this to the floral regions as well, right where we just added the phthalo blue. And then once you're satisfied with that, go ahead and rinse off your brush and grab some of your luminous rose and just add some of these speckles into the floral bushes along the left side of them. And once you're happy with that, rinse that brush off, and then we're going to go back to our scruffy brush. So take that scruffy brush and we're going to add some light olive green to the left areas of our grass, the far left areas. This is going to add a further highlight that we need. This will really create a three-dimensional look and a shadowed area versus a highlighted area, which will look really pretty in the end. Next, we're going to grab some magenta on our filbert brush again and go over some of the areas of the floral bushes right between the left and the right section, so right down in the middle. And once you're done with that, rinse off your brush and grab your size 6 flat brush and add some raw umber or some burnt sienna to your palette. And using that raw umber, we're just going to create a fence real quick in the background, a real simple, easy fence. And it shouldn't be too high or too short. Actually, it can be any size that you like, but I'm drawing 2 lines going horizontal and then a bunch of vertical lines. And then I'll just fence in our grape field or our vineyard. And then I'm going to take some white and redo the sun, and then some white and yellow, and take that and highlight the yellow area above the sun, and then some white, yellow, and orange, and highlight that orange area above the sun. And then finally, we're going to take our scruffy brush and dip into some luminous yellow, and add this again to the far left area of our grass. Make sure this is a yellow cool, not the yellow warm, so maybe it's neon yellow or fluorescent yellow, I'm not sure. But just grab the cool, bright neon yellow, fluorescent yellow shade and highlight the grassy field. Grabbing our size 6 flat brush, we're going to now highlight the fence using burnt sienna. So grab that on your brush and then just go above the posts and to the right side of the post if you wish. These are far behind in the field, so you may not see that much detail, so you can, or you don't have to add this highlight, but it will add a little bit something to your painting. Taking your size 4 filbert brush, we're going to go ahead and tap into our light blue violet and add some of this color to our floral regions, adding more colors and shades and depth to our painting. Next, adding some luminous pink with a lot of white, so a lot more white than pink. We're going to create a very light pink shade, like a bubbly pink shade, bubblegum pink. And we're going to take this and highlight the floral regions a little bit more, keeping in mind where the sun is hitting the flowers. And adding some final detail, taking that fluorescent cool yellow shade, we're just going to highlight some of the shrubbery in the background, the trees and some of those bushes, and that should be one of our final touches to this painting as we wrap this up. And so I hope you enjoyed this YouTube tutorial. I know I did. Please remember to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to my YouTube channel for upcoming video releases. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye!